Rev up your engines! Alright, here's a 2010 Acura TSX. Guy just bought it. And you wonder, why did he buy it? Well, he had a Honda Accord that somebody totaled. They smashed into him, and he had to get another car. Now, he looked at the new ones and he did not like the CVT transmissions, and I don't blame him. I feel they're kind of sloppy transmissions. And he watches my video, so he didn't want to get GDI, fuel injection, turbocharging, and all that. So he found this Acura TSX 2.4 liter inline 4 with an actual automatic transmission that has gears, and he loves the way that it drives. Now you might think it's a 2010. Okay, it's a 14-year-old vehicle. This particular engine can last a long time. Transmissions can last a long time. They're a little more luxurious than the Accords are. Got a little bit smoother ride to them. So he got this, and so far he's been pretty happy. The only thing he did like is that it burns some oil. It burns on average about a quart every 1,000 miles. And that's with him using a good oil, Castrol. One time he couldn't get any Castrol. Tried Valvoline, it started sucking oil down like no tomorrow. So he switched back to Castrol. Shows there is a difference in oils. I personally like Castrol. I've been using it for years. If it ever lets me down, I'll switch. But it never did, so I probably never switch unless they change their formulation. Contact Honda about him, but of course they gave the usual spiel that he's 10,000 miles over the limit. If he would have had less mileage, they would have put new piston rings, rebuilt the engine, and replaced the engine. The same thing that Toyota did. They had the problems in the Camrys and in the Scions and in some of the Matrixes. As per usual, you know, they find their way wheedling out. Now, he's just driving with some oil in the trunk. You can do that. It's not something that's really going to destroy the car. I've seen people drive them years and years that way. Now, the Honda cutoff was something like 8 years or 130,000 miles. He was over that, so they're not going to fix it for free. So if you are looking at one of these and you're worried, it's real easy. All you got to do is take off the plastic cover here, pull out the spark plugs. If they have carbon built on them, you know it's burning oil, then you might say, but if the previous owner, say, has paperwork that shows that Honda fixed the engine, well, then you're not going to have to worry about it. I mean, I'd still check the spark plugs anyways, because it's a known problem. But this thing still runs good enough. His only hassle is going to be over the years whether it'll clog up the catalytic converter, and he's in Georgia, unfortunately, where they do emissions testing. If it was Tennessee here, it would be like my grandson in his Camry. He doesn't care. He adds oil in. He doesn't care. It runs perfectly fine. And if the code for inefficient catalytic converter pops up, no one cares because there's no emissions testing. Get a big old scan tool out. Analog Diagnosis, USA, Acura TSX 2010. Well, as you can see, his battery's going out, and he knows that. We're going to put a battery in a second, but for now we'll do a scan. We can do a topology scan. Brake leather's cracking a little bit. Yeah, the seats are worn over here. You can get some nice seat covers if you want. They got pillows and everything to sleep out in it. Relatively modern car, even though it's 2010. And you can see it's got 168,856. And he uses it for Uber. So he wants something that's dependable. It's going to get decent gas mileage. So he'll make money on the deal. Well, so far the stuff's pretty good. There's only codes for stuff that often breaks down on these, like the tire pressure monitoring system. As they're this old, I'm sure the batteries are dead in each of the tires. So, I mean, we'll just look at it and see what it says. Tire pressure gauges are cheap. Taking all the tires apart and putting new sensors in is expensive. So, as you say, there they go, you know. Permanent for all the different tires. So, forget that. We don't care. The other is the ABS system. They often don't work when they get this old. We'll see what the codes are. And battery voltage low, brake fluid low. These may or may not be an actual problem because his battery's so messed up. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to erase these codes and replace the battery. So we're erasing all the codes. It's an older car, so you got to turn the switch off and on. And as we can see, they're all green. He's already got a battery, so we're going to put that in. Owning the fact that these things are over 200 bucks now for this little bitty battery, which is 500 cranking amps. Well, that's the world these days. Now, being an older car, we don't have to worry about all that computer nonsense. You don't really have to reset anything on an old car like this. Now, the safest thing is to take the negative terminal off first. Then you won't short anything out. So take it off. There we go. Get it out of the way. And we'll take the positive terminal off. Give it a little wiggle. And you can see this one's corroded, so we're going to have to clean off. They don't make batteries like they used to. They often corrode. So we'll finish taking the hold down off. Put it over here so we don't lose anything. Since I get my hands dirty, use these little pliers. Get out of the way. Now I don't care because the new battery's clean, so I'll use my hand. And it goes. And we'll put the little plastic top on. It's always fun fishing these little tie-downs in our holes, but they're in now. You don't want the battery wobbling around. You can see it's in there nice and tight. Now first we're going to put on the positive terminal because we don't want to short anything out. There's nothing connected now. The circuit's broken because the negative's not on. So if we touch anything with this, it's not going to hurt anything. Now we'll do the other side. Now we can get back in, start her up. I want to look at live data. So we'll go to the PCM and we'll go to live data. Black's good, red's bad. We'll start looking through the data to see what shape this thing is in. The MAF sensor's normal, throttle's normal. The air fuel lambda's almost perfect, 0.98. It's only 0.02 off, 0.99. 1.00 is perfect, so it's pretty close to perfect. And the fuel trim, okay, the long-term fuel trim is 1. Well, it's only 1%. Consider it's got 168,000 miles. Being only 1% off, that's not bad. It's adding 1%, meaning it's running a little bit lean. You'd rather have them run a little lean than a little rich. You get a little bit of gas mileage that way. Hey, they get this all. Of course, the fuel injectors aren't going to be absolutely positively perfect anymore, but they're 99%. Battery's charging good. Now it's got a new battery in it. Fuel injector's normal. It shows the fuel cap is closed. Now here's a lesson to be learned. He had an emissions code for an evap leak, right? So he went and got a discount auto parts store one, and the stupid code kept coming back. So he went to the Acura dealer and paid like 5 times as much for it, but then when he put it on, it fixed it. So a lot of times, don't trust those cheap gas caps you get at discount auto parts store, because often they won't work right, and then you'll scratch your head and think, gee, I wonder what the problem was. The problem was cap, and they just sold you one that didn't work right. So it's best to stick to the OEM caps, really. This temperature's normal. Typical Honda. Doesn't have any misfires. Alright, now like the old cars, they got real emergency brakes. Not that electronic crap. So, here we go. Take it for a spin, see if any of the codes come back. Oh, here we go. It still handles pretty good. That's the thing about these Acuras. They're fun to drive. And as we roll down, I don't hear any roaring wheel bearings or anything. The AC is working nice and cold. We'll take it to our little drag strip and see what's going on with the engine and transmission. These are zippy enough cars. It's a 2.4 liter engine, but it's a Honda 2.4. Honda's pretty good at making their engines. Other than this particular one has the flaw that it burns a little oil. Now it's got 168,000 miles on it. So no one's behind us to rear end us. I'm looking in the mirror. All right, and here we go. Engine sounds good. Transmission shifting real smooth. That's why I like these automatic transmissions. And the owner of this car agrees. His mother's got an Accord with a CVT, and he hates it. This thing, you step on the gas, listen, you step on the gas, it downshifts, it takes off. All right, if this was a CVT, it would just make a noise and go, and it wouldn't take off as fast. I just don't like the CVTs. Most real drivers do not like the CVTs, and unfortunately with Honda, you don't have much choice if you're going to buy a brand new one. Now, he was late coming to me, so they were in a hurry coming from Georgia to Tennessee, and they said they were getting about 29 miles a gallon when they were driving 100 miles an hour. So I gotta say, Honda makes its technology pretty good, because when I had a Ford Mustang and I drove at 100 miles an hour, it was getting 5 miles a gallon. So there's quite a bit of difference there. Nice road test, nice car. So let's see if any of the codes came back. Those codes, so we're going to do a fault scan again. Now we'll see if any of them come back. Interesting enough, the ABS codes didn't come back. Tire pressure, they didn't come back either. Those are the only ones that had codes. You can see all the rest of the stuff's green. It doesn't have any codes on it, right? We'll wait till that's done. It's still checking. Okay, that's green, that's green. Well, they're all going to be green for sure, but just to prove a point, I'll leave it running until they turn green. Well, it doesn't have that, so it's not going to. And I know the immobilizer works because the car started. All right, so none of the codes came back because, as I warned people over and over again, his battery was crapped out. You can see it wouldn't start the car because I had the ignition on while I was doing a scan, and that was enough to drain it out. And he knew it was going bad, so he had a spare one. That's what tripped all those stupid codes. Actually, none of those systems have a problem because the battery was bad. You get too much low voltage. Not enough power, it'll trip all kinds of codes. So if you get all kinds of wacky codes, have your battery load tested, and you'll know. And if you do like his, you turn it, goes click, 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 you know the battery's bad. Replace the battery. There you have it. He's got a good car for Ubering around, gets decent gas mileage, goes fast. Other than it burns a quart of oil every 1,000 miles. If you use good oil like Castrol, the cheap oil burn a lot more, the good oil doesn't. It's just the piston rings. So it's something that as long as it runs, I can see him still going another 100,000 miles as long as you keep the oil in. Just remember, if your car burns oil, make a point of maybe every time you fill it up with gas, check the oil. Have plastic containers in the trunk so you can add whatever you need, and then it can last a long time, because this thing's still got an awful lot of life in it, and it doesn't have all the complex garbage that the modern ones have, including those horrible CVTs. It's a real automatic transmission. It's a joy to drive, and let's face the facts, you can't buy vehicles like that anymore because they're all loaded with crappy technology that's only going to break down before their time, and then you got to buy another car. Maybe if that happens to you, go buy an older used one instead. It'll probably outlast the new one. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.